In 1525, India consists of several competing centers of power. The Lodi dynasty in the north is plagued by internal dissent, leaving them vulnerable just as Rana Sanga's Rajput confederacy rises to contest the status quo. Enter Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur. He brings royal pedigree, claiming bloodlines from both Timur and Genghis Khan. But his true advantage crosses the mountains in the form of technology. He introduces terrifying new artillery and matchlock muskets to a subcontinent that has never faced them. The convergence of India's political fragmentation and Babur's advanced weaponry effectively cleared the path for a permanent foreign conquest. In April 1526, Babur meets Ibrahim Lodi at the First Battle of Panipat. On paper, it's a slaughter. Babur commands roughly 12,000 troops. Lodi marches toward him with up to 100,000 men and 1,000 war elephants. Babur counters those overwhelming numbers with a Central Asian battle tactic known as Tulugma. He divides his smaller force into distinct segments. While his center holds firm, agile flanking units rapidly sweep around the sides and rear, collapsing the massive Indian formation in on itself. At the exact same time, Ottoman-trained experts open fire. The sheer deafening noise and physical destruction of Babur's cannons and matchlocks shatter the Indian lines and send the war elephants into a panicked stampede. A year later at Kanwa, Babur faces the battle-hardened Rajputs. When his men lose their nerve against the fierce Rajput onslaught, Babur delivers a passionate speech and declares the battle a jihad. This massive injection of religious fervor rallies his troops, securing a victory that locks down North India. But you cannot sustain a dynasty by force alone. Babur immediately sets out to prove he is a scholar as well as a conqueror. He writes the Baburnama, a remarkably detailed autobiography where he carefully catalogues the flora, fauna, and culture of the new world he now rules. The Mughals actually lose their new empire shortly after Babur's death. His son, Humayun, is driven into exile by a brilliant Afghan rival named Sher Shah Suri. During this exile, the Mughals observe Suri's highly structured administration, specifically how he divides his territory into manageable districts called sarkars and sub-districts called parganas. When Humayun's son Akbar eventually stabilizes the throne, he takes those Afghan lessons and builds a permanent imperial machine. He trades pure military conquest for a rigorously organized bureaucracy. The engine of this new state is the Mansabdari system. Akbar assigns his nobles a mansab, or a rank. This rank is split in two. The zat determines the official's personal status and salary, while the sawar dictates the exact number of military cavalrymen they are legally required to maintain for the empire. To pay for this massive standing army without bankrupting the central treasury, Akbar pairs it with the Jagirdari system. He grants them a jagir, a specific parcel of land. The revenue collected locally from that land bypasses the capital entirely and directly funds the official and his assigned cavalry. This loop runs perfectly. The civil administration and military are entirely fused, paid for by local agriculture, and totally dependent on the emperor's continued favor to keep their status. To make sure those land revenues stay predictable, Akbar's finance minister, Raja Todar Mal, implements the Dasala system in 1579. This chart breaks down Todar Mal's intensely data-driven approach. His team collects 10 years of detailed data on crop yields and market prices. Then they classify every plot of land into 4 strict tiers based on how often it's actually farmed, ranging from polage, which is planted every single year, down to banjar, which is entirely barren. Crucially, Todar Mal demands that this average revenue be paid by the cultivators in cash, not in kind. This cuts out layers of local corruption and gives the imperial treasury exact, reliable figures to plan around. This stable, massive tax base creates staggering wealth. Combined with a pragmatic policy of bringing fiercely independent Rajput kings into the imperial administration, Akbar passes an incredibly rich, incredibly secure state down to his successors, Jahangir and Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan takes that immense economic surplus and pours it into a zenith of art and architecture. He demands perfect symmetry and shifts the imperial aesthetic toward brilliant white marble, a vision that culminates in the Taj Mahal. The Mughal machine perfectly balances ruthless, disciplined military capability with an economic engine that funds the most sophisticated cultural monuments in the world. That golden age shatters in Shah Jahan's final years. A brutal war of succession rips through his 4 sons. Aurangzeb emerges victorious after crushing the emperor's favorite, Dara Shikoh, at the Battle of Samagar in 1658. Aurangzeb seizes the crown and locks his own father inside the Agra fort. Shah Jahan lives out the rest of his days as a royal prisoner, staring out from the Jasmine Tower at the very mausoleum he built for his wife. Once in power, Aurangzeb aggressively tightens his grip on provincial administration. But trying to micromanage every corner of a rapidly expanding subcontinent places an impossible strain on the imperial machinery. The flawless Mansabdari system breaks down. Local officials start misappropriating revenue, land transfers are heavily delayed, and the cash required to sustain the military cavalry simply disappears before it reaches the troops. The exact bureaucratic structure Akbar built to hold the empire together is now too bloated and corrupted to carry its own weight. And yet, Aurangzeb refuses to stop. He becomes obsessed with extending Mughal authority deep into the resisting southern peninsula, launching decades of grinding campaigns against the Deccan sultanates. To fight a forever war in the south, you need a massive standing army. Paying and supplying those forces year after year completely bleeds the once overflowing imperial treasury dry. The Mughals unified a fractured landmass through rapid technological adoption and brilliant administration, but their collapse leaves us with a stark historical reality. No system, no matter how brilliantly engineered, can survive the cost of